Hello everyone and welcome to Real Life Racing episode 5. So if you haven't been keeping up to date with this series, you can always do that by clicking the link in the description to watch all of the previous videos. But basically this is the 4th round of the karting championship that I participate in, and I missed out the 3rd round. So the last round that I was actually at was round 2, that is shown in episode 3. And episode 4 was basically just a little bit of filler where I raced against random people in a random race. So yeah, this is back to the main championship now in the 4th round, and in the last championship round, which was episode 3, I got my first win. So that was something that I was really happy about. I'd managed to get that monkey off my back, if you like. I'd managed to get that first win in any of the races. I'd had seconds, thirds, fourth. I'd had all kinds of positions, but I'd never managed to get a win. So I managed to get that in the last round, and that's kind of put me at ease a little bit. It's allowed me to not feel so much under pressure to get that win, really. And I decided to go into this round with a bit of a different mindset. So I went into this round basically hoping for some good results. That's all I wanted, was some good, solid, consistent results, get some good points on the board, just by getting some decent, seconds, thirds, fourths, fifths. Just as long as they were all within that area, I would be happy. And that's kind of the mindset that I took into this round, and what the mindset that I'm taking into this race. So as you saw, I managed to start in 3rd place, and by the first corner basically I was back down in 4th. But that was okay. I just decided to regroup, consolidate that 4th position, not lose any more places, and then see what happened in front of me, and just there's plenty of time for the race to pan out, and just see what happens as I go through. And the thing that I was really trying to avoid was what happened in the final of the previous round, where I just, I was too aggressive and I went off, and I was in a decent 6th place in the final. I could have made places throughout the rest of the race, but then I get too aggressive, go on the curb, and then I'm back down in 30th place. I basically didn't want that to happen anymore. So my focus now is on just, consolidating the position that I'm in, and then pushing for positions throughout the race. There's no rush. You gotta take what you can. So as you can see here, the front two managed to get in front of this guy who did actually qualify in 4th, but managed to get a really good start. So because he qualified in 4th, I figured that I'm quicker than him. I managed to qualify in 3rd, so I've got a quicker lap time than what he did. So theoretically, I should be able to get past just as easily. But it doesn't always work out like that. He defends quite well, and I don't manage to get past for quite a while. So here we are on to lap 6, and I decide at this point to have a bit of a trial run of what I'm going to do to get past him, if you like. So I'm obviously too far behind here, but it's just a little bit of a look, if you like, of what I'm going to do to make the move to get past him, and that was it there. So when it comes on to the next lap, which is lap 7, I already know how I'm going to make the overtake, and all I have to do is be a little bit closer. I've done the little bit of practice there, and I just have to get a little bit closer than what I was in the first place. Now I am, as you can see, I'm right on his back bumper, so I do the exact same move that I did in the first instance, straight up the inside, and I get a nice clean overtake done there. So at this point I think, right, well, I qualified before him, I'm quicker than him, and that should be fine. I was aware that there was a guy behind me as well. Hopefully those two will fight with each other, and I'll be able to drive away. But I get clipped by those guys, and I basically go down to 5th. Now that was quite frustrating because I'd spent 7 laps trying to get behind the guy, trying to get in front of the guy, sorry. I figured out a good overtaking move, I got in front of him cleanly, and then just on the next corner all of that is undone by just getting hit in the back and pushed off out wide. So I was a little bit annoyed by that, obviously, because I'm back down again and have to figure it out all over again. And now, I'm stuck in a battle with another guy who was coming up behind us as well. So, I'm basically, I can either finish in this race 3rd or 4th or 5th. And I really want to make it 3rd because that's where I qualified. So we're coming on to the lap 9 now, and I am aware that time is running out. I want to get this overtake done. I want to be able to get in front of him, and I do feel I am quicker because every time that I've dropped it further back a little bit, I have managed to catch up, as you've seen here. So I also know that I am quicker than him in a certain section of the track, and it's after this corner that you're seeing now. So basically in the next corner I am aware that I'm quicker than him. So he goes over to the inside to defend, and because I'm quicker around that corner, I get up the inside of him here. Now he has the inside for the next corner, but I do a nice little cutback move, and I kind of forced him into the right hand side, so he didn't have the angle for the corner. And then I get the move done, do a little bit of defending going into this corner down here, and I managed to stick with the third place all the way to the end. So that's quite good. I was happy to finish where I qualified. Basically, you always like to finish where you qualify, and obviously, good points, third position. That's a great start to the day where I'm wanting just to get some nice, consistent, solid results and some good points. So yeah, I was happy with that result. It wasn't. I probably could have stuck with the two guys in front if I'd managed to get in front of that guy a bit quicker. But that's how it goes, and I managed to get some good points out of it anyway. So the next race is another interesting one, and basically we all start. The first three start in the same positions that we started the first race. So obviously it's a bit of a manic start, really. There's guys pushing me, I'm pushing the guy on the inside. And my thought at this point is just to follow him around the inside and get into second place. But he drifts a little bit wide there, and I managed to get up the inside and get into first position. Now, if you remember from the episode 3, the time when I was in first position there was the first time I'd ever been in the lead, really, and I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. Now, because I've had that experience, it was only just one race, but I've had that win under my belt. It had such a different feeling to it. I was able to be a lot more calm behind the wheel of the kart. I felt a lot more consistent with what I was doing, and because I had this mindset of just getting good points, I didn't feel under pressure to be keeping this win. I'd already had the win. All I wanted was some good points. Being in first place after the end of the first lap is a good way to get some good points, because even if you get overtaken by one or two people, you're still getting some good consistent points. So I had that in the back of my mind, and I wasn't quite as worried, or it didn't fill me with dread anymore, let's put it that way. I was quite comfortable in that position, and obviously I quite enjoyed having a clear track ahead of me. So yeah, I did manage to get into first place here, and I do have to defend a little bit further on during the race, as you'll see in a few seconds. I didn't have it all my own way like I did in my the first race where I won. I had to do a bit of defending because some guys did start to catch me up a little bit. My kart felt really good in a straight line, but it was lacking a little bit in the corners. So there were certain places where I knew I was going to be under threat from. At the end of the straights, for example, I wasn't too bothered, but there were certain sections where I knew I would have to defend a bit harder. Obviously this is one of them. He gets up on the inside of me there, but because I've got the inside for all of this corner, I'm quite happy with the position that I'm in. And I'm just basically trying my best to keep this position, and I'm hoping that other people behind will catch up to us as well, so that they can fight between themselves and I can have a little bit of breathing space. Now that is what happens. The guys from behind catch up to the guy in second, and they all start fighting between themselves. I get a nice little gap. I put in some really consistent lap times. In fact, from lap 5 all the way to lap 10, so all 6 of those laps I had lap times that were within 0.2 of each other. So that was really consistent from me, and isn't something that I would have had this time last year, that's for sure. So yeah, I put in some really consistent laps, and managed to come through and get the win as well. So I was obviously really pleased again. That's my second win in the space of 2 rounds. You wait all this time for one of them, and then 2 come along at the same time. And I think that having that mindset of just getting some good points really helped me there, because it just allowed me to, just not have that pressure of being in the lead, and I was able to just defend knowing that I was still going to get some good points anyway. So yeah, I was really pleased with that. Got another win under my belt, and it's always a nice feeling to win a race. They were pretty close behind me, and I didn't exactly have the quickest kart, but yeah, it was a nice race anyway, and I got the win, which is all that matters. So yeah, race 3 now, and this wasn't quite as nice, I'll be honest. So it actually starts with me stopped. The kart had actually cut out on the start of the formation lap, and as you'll see, I do get going again, but it is popping a little bit. It's not really getting going very well. And I do obviously take up my position at the start of the grid. I start on pole position because that's where I finished the last race. But it's the kart isn't filling me with a lot of confidence at this point, and I'm not enjoying going around this formation lap knowing that I'm going to be starting the race with this kart that is popping and generally not doing what I want it to do. So here we are coming on to the start of the race, and technically the guy in second shouldn't be that far ahead. He should be waiting until I go before he goes, but he just goes anyway. Everybody else goes. My kart starts to pop and cough and splutter, and I'm in seventh place before I even get to the start line. So yeah, that wasn't exactly the best start I could have hoped for. Now, I have had that happen before in different positions, but when it happens when you're on pole position, you know, that's probably the worst time for it to ever happen, really. So yeah, bit of a shame there, really, and I do have to fight my way back through. It is a bit of a battle, this race, but it is going to be our feature race. You know, I'm going to show every lap of this race because it's probably the most interesting one. You know, as ironically, the one that I actually won wasn't really most interesting because I was out in front for all of the race. And this one, where I had a problem at the start, I do have a reasonably decent kart once it got going, so I am able to kind of fight my way through. But you know, there are some interesting moments as well, so we will show this race. I will show this race in full just so you can see what happens. But you know, it is annoying to have that happen to you. You know, when you're on pole position, you do have such a big advantage to hopefully get to the first corner first, not deal with all of the issues behind you. And like I said, you know, even if you're in pole position, if you're in the first place for a first couple of laps, even if you get overtaken, you're still going to get a good result out of it. So you know, that is a bit of a pain. It's really annoying, but you know, in the mindset that I had after the first lap, I managed to get over it, and I just thought, right, I'll get some good points. I'll just see where I can come, consolidate the position that I'm in, and try and improve on, you know, what I'm able to do during this race, and just try and get a good result out of it, because these things happen, and you know, there's nothing I could have really done about it. So whilst you guys are watching me battle it out, I do want to have a little bit of a talk about how the championship works in terms of the points that you get, because although I'm not really thinking about the championship or anything like that, it's probably a good idea just to give you guys a bit of a background on how it works, so you can understand sort of what the point is in getting points in the first place is, and you know, how it all sort of goes together at the end of the season. So basically, you know, there are 10 rounds in this championship. It's a 10-round championship, and in each round you do 4 races, as you probably know by now. Each race you get points for how you do in each race. So each race has a maximum of 25 points. You get 25 for a win, 22 points for second place, 20 points for third place, and then 19, 18, 17, 16, all the way down to I think 21st, 22nd position or something like that. So basically, you know, you always get points in each of the races, and you are just looking to maximise the amount of points that you get, with 100 being the maximum that you could get every round if you won all 4 races. Now that has been done before, and it was done in the first round of this championship this season as well. But when I'm talking about just getting some good consistent points, all I mean is just getting those, you know, higher up results, getting a first, second, third, fourth, fifth, something like that in all of the 4 races, just so you're getting some decent points on the board. Now at the end of the season, you drop your worst 2 results. So you do 10 rounds of the championship, and your worst 2 results are dropped. They aren't taken into account. So you only take into account your best 8 points results. Now obviously I've already got a 0 points result because I'd missed the 3rd round of the championship, so that doesn't actually hinder me that much because that won't be taken into account at the end. So I basically, out of the 9 point scores that I hope to have, I will take my best 8, and that applies to everybody. Everybody takes their best 8 results, adds up all the points that they get, and that determines the final championship standings at the end of the season. Now that's all fine. We'll talk about the championship later on in the season and where I am and where everybody else is and things like that, because you know, there's no point in focusing on it now. But this is all about, this title of this video is personal bests, and that's for multiple reasons. But one of the reasons is that there does come a little bit of a problem when trying to compare with last season, because of this dropped score that I had from round 3. So obviously last season was, as I've mentioned before, the first season that I'd done racing in this championship, and it was the first season I'd ever done really racing in any kind of competitive championship such as this. So all I've been asking for, all I've been wanting of myself is to show some improvement, you know, get better race results, get somewhat quicker lap times, better points every week, you know, that sort of thing. And how I've been doing that is trying to focus on how I did in the exact same round last season. Now I'll just stop a second to talk about the action that's going on the screen. I made a mistake here. I went to the outside there. That was a bad mistake, because look what happens. I just get mugged by everyone who I've managed to get overtaken by, or I've managed to already overtake. I did get up into 5th place. I thought, there's only 2 more people I need to overtake and I might get a solid, 3rd position or something like that. But no, I make a mistake going into the first corner, being on the outside, and I'm back down to 8th again. So I've gone from 8th back all the way up to 5th and then back down to 8th. Now at this point, I thought he was a little bit too aggressive there. I thought that if he hadn't hit me there, he probably would have gone a little bit wide. So that's why I was a little bit mad at that point, because I thought, that I had that corner. My idea was that I had that corner. I was way in front, and he should have just backed out of that one. But this is what happens when you are further down in the pack. You have to deal with these sorts of things, and really it was my own mistake in the first corner of the previous lap that's caused me to be back down with him in the first place. So yeah, I was in 8th. I managed to get up to 5th. Now I'm back down to 8th again and have to work my way all the way back up once more. So yeah, I'll leave you to watch that to see what happens whilst I resume talking about what I was talking about. So yeah, all I'm looking for really this season is improvement, and how I've been doing that, if you noticed on the previous videos, is at the end I would put up the amount of points that I got in this round, and then I would put up a little comparison between the averages that I had, the points that I got in that specific round, the points that I've had in total after that specific round. So it poses a problem that I've dropped points already. I've already had a 0 point score by not attending round 3, and I can't really compare round 3 this season with round 3 last season, because I just wasn't there this season. So last season I actually managed to do all 10 rounds of the championship, and in round 3 last season I got 39 points. Now that was my second worst result of the whole season. 39 points. The worst result I got was 33 points, so that 39 was dropped. By the end of the season, my best 8 results didn't include that 39 point score. So what I'm going to do is just forget about it. I'm not going to bother including it in any of the statistics at the end of each video. I'm just going to forget it ever happened, and basically act as if I wasn't there, just like I haven't been in 2014 as well, because the result is the same. Both round 3s don't impact on anything, so there's no point in adding either of them in. So yeah, basically at the end of this video you'll see the total points that I have after round 4. For 2014 that is obviously correct because I wasn't there at round 3, but for 2013 that doesn't include the round 3 score. But it doesn't matter because both of them aren't going to be included in the final championship points anyway. So I hope that all makes sense, but it probably will make more sense if you do actually, if you have been keeping up to date with the little charts that I put at the end of each video, which denote my point scores and things like that. So back to the action again, I guess, and yeah, I'm basically at this point I get a little bit of a good run out of that corner, and I get onto the back of this guy here, and the idea there really basically is just to, I'm using the slipstream of him to push him a bit quicker, and although I'm still behind him, I'm at least gaining 1 place by overtaking the guy who's kind of left out wide and not got a lot to do. And then I actually do the exact same move that I did on this guy the time before. This time it was even more clean, and get up on the inside of him and get up in front of him as well. So that gets me up into 5th position, and this is the position that I managed to keep to the end. So obviously I'm a little bit too far behind the 2 guys in front of me now to catch up to them, mainly because of that mistake I made before. But yeah, I have managed to sort of be in 8th place, claw my way back up to 5th, go back down to 8th, and then back up to 5th again, and that 5th is what I managed to keep until the end. So, based on it was a disappointing result based on the fact that I started on pole position, and really, it could have been anything from a 1st to a 3rd if I hadn't had that problem at the start. But based on the fact that I did have that problem at the start and I was way down, I was in 7th position before I'd even crossed the start line, I wasn't too unhappy with that result. It was a good haul of points, and that's again all that I wanted in this round, is just some good points in all of the races, and that's what I managed to get here. So not too bad. Just one of those things that happened at the start, but I managed to sort of recover from it and get some good points, whereas beforehand, maybe last season or something like that, I might have lost more places or tried a bit too hard and gone off like I did in the final of round 2. So, not too bad, not too displeased with that. So just like round 2, which again is episode 3 of this series, I managed to get the second most points out of anyone up to that point throughout the day, which means I started the final in second place, exactly the same position that I started the final in round 2. But unlike round 2, I didn't want to go off and end up in 30th place after the second lap. So this time I wanted to just get some good points and not get completely hounded at the start and just have to fight my way back up. I wanted to actually be competing for a trophy. So as I've said before, the trophies are all handed out in the final. Obviously you get first and second and third place trophies. If you finish first, second or third in the final, you will get a trophy. So that's where you want to be at your best. That's where you want to be your most consistent, and that's where you want to get those good results. Now that's something I didn't do in round 2 because I just I was too aggressive, and I lost the opportunity to do that. I was starting in second place, and I messed up. So in this round, obviously I'm starting in second place again, and I want to make amends on that. I want to do that a bit better than what I did last time. Again, always looking for a little bit of improvement. At this time I want to actually try and be in those top positions at the end of the race and not just after the first corner. Now, I have actually won a trophy before. I won 2 trophies last season, one for a second place and one for a third place, and they weren't sort of starting from a high up position. They were kind of fighting my way through. I hadn't had as good a results throughout the other races as I had in sort of this round, for example. They were just a random race, a normal race. I'd start maybe 5th or 6th in the final, and I just managed to work my way up in the final just through having sort of a good kart and just having a good performance in the final. Now in this round, and in the last round, in round 2, I'd actually had good results throughout all of the race, and I was starting up in a higher up position. So theoretically, that should give me a better chance to get another trophy and get a good position in the final. So here we are, starting the final. The guy in first, he just manages to get the jump on me a bit there. He was quite clever by hanging back a little bit, making me not be able to see when he started. And he just gets the jump on me, but I do manage to sit in on second place. And I keep that second place all the way through this the first section of the lap, which is important because you don't want to be losing places at the very start of the race, because if you lose one place, you'll start losing about 5 or 6, as you saw in round 2. So at this point, I'm just about consolidating my position. The same mentality. I want to stay in this second place and then think about trying to make an impression on him sort of as the race goes on. And he is a very good racer. He's done a lot of racing before with his own kart and things like that. I've mentioned about the different kinds of races that you get racing in these situations. He's got a lot more experience than I have. As you saw, at the start, he knew when to go. So I'm trying my best, if you like, to not just keep up with him, but just not make the mistakes and not do the things that are going to make me lose these little bits of time. And as you'll see as this race goes on, although he has a little bit of a problem in 1 or 2 areas, I do tend to overdrive the kart, especially in lap 3. It's the most noticeable. I'm just pushing a little bit too hard, and I know it's happening myself. I can, at the time I realised it and I tried to rein it in a little bit, and I do improve throughout the course of the race, but I'm just making little errors that I wouldn't normally make if I wasn't trying so hard to keep up with him and try and catch him up. Obviously, a lot's on the line here. I've never actually won one of these finals. As I said, I've had second and third place trophies. Yes, I've won a race, but I've never won the final. So, a lot is on the line, but I'm just trying a bit too hard in this final. And although I'm sticking with him in the first couple of laps, I do make a few mistakes, and I end up finishing about 3 seconds behind him at the end of the race. But I finished 3.8 seconds ahead of third, which means I finished second place in the final. And I get a nice shiny new trophy as well, a nice second place trophy for my shelf. So that's always nice because it doesn't happen all that often, let's be honest. But there are a few spooky coincidences, and I did think that these had happened at the time, but I had to look back just to make sure. So as I mentioned, I have had a second place trophy before. Now that actually happened in round 4 2013. Obviously I've got it this time, it's round 4 2014, and I've got another second place trophy. That in itself is probably a bit of a spooky coincidence, but it's even more spooky when you realise that it was in exactly the same kart. So as you can see, kart number 7, when I'm leaning forward, you'll see that I'm in kart number 7. Now, I was actually in kart number 7 when I got my first ever trophy, which was the second place trophy that I got this time last year. And it's only a day off being the exact same day last year. So that was just really, really spooky, almost the exact same day, on the exact same round, in the exact same kart, I got another second place trophy. So a little bit of a spooky coincidence there, but yeah, I guess kart number 7, probably my lucky one. Or my unlucky one, I guess you could say, considering I was also in kart number 7 in the last round when I went off in the qualifying session and probably broke it. So yeah, 2 second place trophies on the same round in each season. And the title of this video is also personal bests. Now, I have mentioned one reason why that's the case, but another reason is that this round is littered with personal bests for me. So the first one is obviously that I've equalled my best result in a final. So I've obviously got the second place trophy, which is equaling the best result that I've ever had in a final. Another one is that I've equalled the best result that I've had in any of the races. I've got another win in one of the races, which, that was a personal best of mine just from the last round. So there's 2 personal bests that I've equalled. And also, as you'll see, lap 5 of this race is actually the best lap in terms of, single lap time that I've ever managed around this track. So obviously you'll see that after this lap's finished, but that is also the best lap that I've ever had around this track. Another personal best is that this is the best points that I've ever had in any of the races. So funnily enough, it was also round 4 when I got my best points haul of 76 points. That was 2013. And that record has kind of stayed since then. I've never had any more points than 76 in all of the rounds that I've done since this time last year. But again, round 4 comes along, another spooky coincidence, and this time I managed to get 85 points, which breaking that 80 point barrier for the first time I've ever done that. And that's the most amount of points that I've ever had in any of these championship rounds. So a lot of personal bests for me in this week, and it's kind of been probably it's certainly been the best month of racing that I've had at this championship. I've had a win, I've been the quickest around the track, I've got that I've ever been, I've had the most points that I've ever had, I've managed to get a trophy, a second place trophy at the end. And for someone like me who's just always looking for improvement, who isn't sort of always at the front looking for those wins, because I don't have that kind of experience, for someone like me to be getting these kind of personal bests, it really, it's really encouraging, and it's really nice for me to be knowing that I am improving. An interesting little fact is that throughout the whole of last season, my best single lap was 1.5 seconds off the lap record of the track. Now, after 4 rounds, already I've managed to bring that down, my best lap down to only half a second off the lap record. So it shows that I am improving, I am getting there, I'm getting closer and closer to these higher up positions, and that's all I want. That's all I want to do. I want to just get a bit better and a bit better every time, and just have some fun races and hopefully get some good results along the way. I'm probably never going to be as good as the guys who may be fighting for the lead of the championship, and I know the guy who won this race is really good and he watches these videos, so congratulations to you, man. But yeah, all I'm looking for is just that improvement and getting better and better, and to have these personal bests and break them all in one round like this was really encouraging. So that was it's been a really good round for me, let's put it that way. And it obviously gives me confidence in my own abilities to be, I'm confident enough that I can be up there with these guys and battling for the top positions. So yeah, it's been a really good round, and as you can see from the points here, I got 85 points, some really nice results there, first, second, third and a fifth. And as you'll see on the next chart, which details how I did compared to this time last season I did get my best result of the season, but I've already beaten it in round 4 as well. My average is just so much better, my total is just so much better. I'm just having a much better run of it this time round. I'm doing much better than I did this time last season, and that's just great to see, and I'm really happy about that. So thanks a lot for watching, everyone. I really appreciate your support as always. Leave all your likes and comments down below, and I'll see you next time.